Welcome, gathered friends, to the Chima Retrospective. I'm your host, Paleozoic Bricks, and today we're looking at set 70003, Eris Eagle Interceptor. It was released in the winter wave of January 2013. It came with 348 pieces and retailed for $34.99. Finally, after multiple sets, we're out of the growing pains, and now we get to see the true potential of the Legends of Chima with one of the best sets of the entire theme. This set has 3 minifigures, 1 eagle and 2 ravens. Finally, after 4 episodes looking at sets, do we finally reach a main character of this theme. Eris is the titular character of this set and one of the 3 main characters of the theme overall. This is the biggest flaw of the theme, the availability of the main characters. In the first year, they come in more expensive sets. The lowest 2013 set Eris is featured in is set 70114 Skyjoust, which retails for $19.99. Eris is on the luckier side. The main characters of the theme's cheapest set is $29.99 in 2013. If this were a Ninjago retrospective, at this point we would have seen each ninja in at least one set by now. Eris is sporting her iconic axe, the Glaxor. Strange names aside, it's a normal axe. We'll see the handle in other colors in future sets. But the Glaxor is sporting a new axe mold, part 11096. It came out in 2 colors, pearl gold and flat silver. By a wide margin, pearl gold was the common color. Sadly though, this piece would be retired in 2016, outliving Chima by a year. If there were more colors available, I feel this would have been a great piece for castle mocks. It might have been a bit too fancy for Viking mocks, but I could see it being used for Black Falcons or Lion Knights. Now we finally move on to the Ravens. Yet again, we finally see our main Raven character, Razor. He's not as important of a character compared to Eris. Razor is the first Raven we see with an appendage missing. Hook hands are uncommon, only ever really being seen on pirates, so it's a bit of a unique part to this character. Finally, we see the crocodile tribe's equivalent to the Valius, the Vengius. This serrated blade is the pride and joy of the crocodile tribe and its proud warriors. Wait, this is Razor's weapon? The Venge Jack? He claimed it to be part of the Raven tribe for generations? Yeah, he's not fooling us. He stole this from the Crocs just like he stole every other thing he claims to be an ancient Raven artifact. Next up is Rizzo, who sports a metal peg leg, on top of his metal eye patch that makes him the most unique out of the Ravens. His weapon is the Bozook Claw. It was forged by a claw made by a great wolf blacksmith, and a sonar disc made from the technological advancement of the Eagles. It's a mighty pulse blaster that takes a while to charge, but it has a powerful blast when it does fire. This is our first true battle-in-a-box set, with not just a single minifigure going up against the titular set, but the opposing faction having their own flyer too. This is another Raven glider piloted by Razor. It's an incredibly simple build, it almost fits in with the polybag sets. However, its use of wings do make it feel like a bit of an in-between. My favorite part of the build is the head. It's amazing how such a blocky and simple build works so well for the aesthetic. I just love how effective the eyes are, just by using round studs to show a change in depth and color. This technique I have used in my own mocks too. Otherwise, there is not much to say about it. It's your typical side build in this set of this caliber. Now we finally move on to the Eagle Interceptor. It has one of the most interesting silhouettes in the fact that this is a jet in the shape of an eagle. It looks so much like an eagle, I feel you can classify this as a mech. I even thought so as a kid. It might be the fact that the wings and legs have articulation. The wings are on ball joints. These are on the 3rd iteration of the piece. The original version, 57910, came out only in 12 sets, mostly coming in Exo Force sets from 2007 to 2008. Then in 2008 or 9, it's a bit unclear, the Bowling Cup was changed to the '08 redesign most Bionicle fans are familiar with. Famously, these joints should have never gone past quality control with the fact that most break when connecting. They weren't in production for very long. Then we reached the version in this set new for 2011, based on the CCBS Ball and Socket redesign. This version has lasted the longest, only getting a redesign in 2022. The Ball and Socket has one of the most interesting histories of any LEGO brick. This was only talking about the more traditional system brick, and not the other parts seen in Bionicle or other CCBS themes. The wings themselves are great. They're long and elegant. It has a great wingspan. They are filled out by the wing piece. Otherwise, they would be very thin for the job. Closer to the body, the wings have red guns and flick-fire missiles. They work just about how you'd expect. Moving lower on the body, there are the legs of the Eagle Interceptor. They are one of the most impressive parts of this set. While they function as legs of the Eagle, they also function as thrusters propelling it in motion. It's the ideas like this that make Chima stand out. They combine two vital features, creating something that feels so believable. The Eagle Interceptor feels like such a real vehicle. In the best Chima sets, nothing from the animal is there as decoration. It's all there to serve the functionality. Due to the leg thrusters, I find this set is best on a flight stand. It allows the thrusters to feel like they're giving motion to the Eagle Interceptor. At the foot of the Eagle there are talons. They work as stabilizers when the Interceptor is in landing mode. Every part of the animal is built on this set in a very practical manner, making this vehicle feel so real. The back of the Eagle Interceptor has a cargo hatch that can store the weapons and this set's Chi crystal. While there's not a lot of detail, I've imagined this as a Chi reactor to power the vehicle. Now let's move on to the head of the Eagle Interceptor. It's easily one of the best heads in the entire theme. It's very simple in the fact that it's a jet cockpit done up in the style of an eagle. The beak is very simple, but it works extremely well. It only uses a few parts, but that's all it really needs. The biggest issue with the cockpit is the wings of Eris don't fit in it, so they have to be put on the wings of the Eagle Interceptor itself. Eris's wings can be a bit big and cumbersome, so it's not an issue to me. Luckily, the wings look so natural on the actual wings of the Interceptor, so I don't mind them as detail. I actually find if they're taken off, it takes away from the set. So this Eris minifigure doesn't come out of the cockpit often. Another issue is the head is slightly tilted down. It doesn't bother me, but it might bother others. I find it looks natural, like an actual eagle scanning the river to dive bomb fish. The main feature of this set is that the head comes off and becomes an escape pod if the rest of the body goes down. The fins on the side even pop up to help it soar through the skies and escape enemy fire. This is the main feature of Year 1 Eagle sets. It's a very creative way to play with these sets. I find the only issue is that the heads are proprietary and cannot be interchanged like old space sets. The Eagle Interceptor has a ton of development material. Of all the sets, this easily has the most of any Chima set. So much so we can paint a pretty good picture of the development of this set. The earliest concept we have of this set is this black prototype. It was on display at Brickvention 2013 in Melbourne. It was brought by Mark Stafford. At this point in development, you can clearly see the head was still being worked on. It seems at this point the head detaching gimmick wasn't a part of the model. Most likely the head was built into the body. It still needed more time in the oven before we got a great looking head. In general, it took a while for the beak to be added to the build. At this point the wings used hinged plates instead of the wing pieces. Even the wings were on ratchet hinges instead of the ball joints like the final model. You can tell by how thin and flimsy they are that this is an early version of the wing. Going forward, each model will have a stronger wing construction. I think the wings are the best indicator that this set is also a prototype of Razor's Chi Raider. The tail feathers are a clear giveaway. While not exact, they use similar parts to the final build of the Chi Raider. Then we move on to the legs of the Interceptor. They have a completely different construction. Back then they used Paraka feet instead of the thruster construction we have now. The thrusters themselves were closer to the tail. The most notable thing about the Paraka feet is the fact that they use the older styled ball and cup joints. Wonder if the designers hated the redesigned joints of OA too. This also gives credit to my theory that this was created around 2010. In this early model, they used an interesting gear construction on the legs. It seems they were just there for detail and not of any use. Possibly the legs were on the ball joint system. Moving on to the next iteration of this set, the most striking change is that the colors are now brown. It seems to be emulating a real eagle more in that department than the first version we looked at. Other than the coloring, the first notable change is the head. We start seeing it take form. At this point, it's clear the head now has the escape pod gimmick. Even if it was unintentional, the DNA of that starts here. The wings start to become a bit more refined. They're still using the hinged plate and have not swapped out for the wing piece yet. The leg design is similar to the older version, give or take a few parts. They finally upgraded to the new bolt sockets for 2011. So that puts this model in the 2011 to 2012 range for its design. Something I find interesting is the fact that Mark Stafford used spray paint to give many of the parts the tan color, including the Paraka feet. They come in the color in one of the best sets of 2009 Bionicle, the Vorox. This version of the model, you can see the legs are on ball joints. Being this is an upgraded version of the concept model, it's safe to assume it's on the concept too. The third prototype we have was shown off at Brickvention 2013. Now it really looks like the final version. It seems the brown was going to be the secondary color instead of the blue we got in the final version. That may at least have been on the set designer side of things. For all the concept art we have of the Eagles, they have a blue and white color scheme, exactly like the final versions. It's fascinating how the set designers and the artists can go in different directions on ideas for the themes they work on. I imagine LEGO didn't want a predominantly brown set, since we should all know how brown Bionicles sell. If you don't know, the answer is not very good. Replacing brown with blue was the smartest choice possible. While the brown is nice from a realism angle, the blue is much more eye-catching. The final colors of the Eagles even contrast well with the Ravens. The head is taking its final form, predominantly white and finally getting its iconic yellow beak. Bearing a few bricks and pieces, it's pretty much final. At this point, the wings are still on ratchet hinges in contrast to the ball joints seen in the final set. Most notably, we see prototype wing pieces on this model in comparison to the wings we got, which are also on this set in a lighter color of brown. The most notable part of the presumably older wing design is that it had a bar running through the whole length of the wing, allowing a brick to be clipped on. I imagine if we got that, it would have been one of the best parts for mocking ever. The legs still haven't taken form yet. They're starting to get close. It finally ditched the Paraka feet, instead having its own brick-built feet. But the ankles were unstable, so they needed to be replaced. Then we finally end up with the model we are all familiar with today, but the story doesn't end there. Marcus Hoogveld, a freelance artist, had the task of making the Chima sets look more dangerous and impressive for the TV show. It's fascinating to see how designs were interpreted. Some stayed relatively the same, and others like the lion attack were strongly improved upon, like adding a windshield and moving the driver closer to the main. By this point, the Eagle Interceptor had been finalized. You can tell by the blue coloring, and the leg thrusters being a more realistic version of the final set we got. These drawings were done in late January of 2012. The development of the TV show itself began in September 2011. I think for me, I would have preferred it to be less spiky and a bit softer. I dare even say having it closer to an F-15 Eagle. The Eagle Interceptor is one of the most fascinating LEGO sets ever. While it's already one of the best sets from this theme, the fact that we have not one, not two, but 3 prototypes is amazing. You can really see the history of the design. This is one of the best sets for the first year of Chima. For the time, it was a great bang for your buck, and it showed off the best of Chima. While it's not my absolute favorite set, I believe this is the best set to get for any LEGO collection. If you had to get a singular Chima set, this is the set I'd recommend, and that's why it's being awarded a Kruggy for its accomplishments. Only 3 sets will be awarded this honor. That includes the Eagle Interceptor, one for each sub-theme of Chima. They might not be my favorite sets, but what I would recommend to any aspiring collector to try the theme out. In the first year alone, there are a few sets I personally prefer, but I don't think they are a must-get. In a numbered ranking of the sets, they would appear in the top 3 sets of the year. In a grand ranking of the entire theme, at least the top 10. This is one of the greatest LEGO sets of all time. It has a very particular design language that doesn't feel too toyetic. It has a great minifigure selection, and I can't recommend it enough to anyone. I'm Paleozoic Bricks, and unleash the power.